Okay, looks good, sounds good.
Okay.
Do it.
I'm Richard Banks. 1,000 years ago, Vikings set sail from these fjords, striking fear across Europe, across Europe.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I probably should have left that alone.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Richard Banks. 1,000 years ago, Vikings set sail from these fjords. One more time.
Okay, let's seems like a long one. Let's give it a shot.
Okay. I'm Richard Banks. 1,000 years ago, Vikings set sail from these fjords, striking fear across Europe. Yet today, this severely beautiful country is home to the Nobel Peace Center, to explorers and adventurers, and is one of the most eco-friendly countries on Earth. How did such a progressive nation grow from such a violent past? And is modern Norway a result of its Viking heritage, or a reaction to it? Join me as I travel the length of Norway, from its magnetic Arctic north, its wild serrated sea coast, and its pulsing modern cities, in search of the Viking spirit.
You get some exteriors, I'm going to take a quick look around, okay? I think for the main points that we want to get on, on camera is this idea that, the Vikings were, were farmers. They were also raiders, but they were also, very innovative, shipbuilders.
That's the whole point of the Viking period. They
Yes.
got technology that made things possible.
Right.
I like also the point that the Viking period was very open, cross-cultural, friendly. I think too we can learn something from that because they wasn't so afraid of other people.
Yes.
And that's a key point. And I think that's part of the Viking spirit.
Prior to the Vikings, there was not a lot of international activity between Iceland, Greenland, and Ireland, etc. They took off. What motivated them to do that?
Yes, they had some contact, but not as that much. But then, in the beginning of the Viking period, or what actually started the Viking period, was the ships. They managed to build new ships, bigger ships, and ship with a sail. Before the Viking period, they have been rowing, and that's tiring. You want to be kind of rested when you get somewhere.
So this boat had a sail?
This has a sail, and they also had this stable keel, who made it possible to travel with quite a big sail.
Amazing.
The keel, though, is made of one piece of wood, one tree, and you won't find a tree like that in Norway today.
So what is this structure here?
Well, the ships were first real ships, and people traveled with them. And then when the owner of the ship died, they pulled the ship ashore and they put a grave chamber like that inside the boat. And they put the dead people inside the grave chamber, often on a nice bed and things, with pillows and blankets and everything that you will need to keep warm.
So the boats were cradle to grave. It was everything for them.
Exactly. And for a Viking, living in a country or having a life where the boat was so important, of course you need a boat to travel to the afterlife. And in the afterlife, also you will need a boat.
And so what would they take with them to the afterlife?
They will take everything that they need. They will take food, they will take animals, and a man. And in this chamber, they will bury a man. He will take his warrior equipment.
His warrior equipment?
Of course.
So what was the warrior equipment?
Like a shield, if you can just take it. Exactly.
So this is what I would use to defend myself from you.
Yeah, it wouldn't help much.
You're tough. So this part is made out of what?
This part is made out of iron, and it's the most stable part of the whole shield. This is not very solid. But it's also meant to be light, so that you can move quick.
Okay, so I would use this in one hand. What would I have in this hand?
What you think you will have. Of course you will have a sword.
Okay, yeah.
It's light, isn't it?
It's very light, but it seems like it could be very effective.
It is. It's lethal. And we all think about it a Viking warrior and the swords, and it's a bit cool, don't you think? But also it's lethal. People die in a war. In the Viking period, just as of today.
Yeah.
It's not nice at all, actually.
Shots, one of you where you kind of pulled up the sword. You're kind of, when you first got it, you kind of
Sure.
Yeah.
But
Can you kind of hold it? Remember you're holding it up. Remember, you can come back here.
Go back to your original position.
You're kind of, you hold, you, when you first got it, you kind of held it up. And you kind of shook it too, like kind of brandished it a little bit. Straight up.
Where are we going now?
We're going to the Kon-Tiki Museum and an interview with Tor Heyerdahl, the third.
The third.
The second and the third.
The second and the third?
Yeah.
Okay.
Olaf.
Oh, the whole family?
Grandson. Yeah.
Okay.
Tor and Olaf.
Olaf.
Yeah.
Olaf is the grandson?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just watch this rope. We left on the 28th of April.
So you.
My grandfather left on 28th of April 1947, and we left 28th of April 2006. And that was also we brought his personal logbook.
Oh.
And so we could
Read from that every night.
yeah, and check the weather condition, water temperature, fishing, sharks, whales. The short story about the Kon-Tiki craft. They left from Peru, and they drifted with the Humboldt current all the way to Polynesia. And finally they crashed into a reef because they couldn't steer away, because they had such big problems with the steering technique, because they just had a rudder in the aft, and obviously when they crashed into reef, my grandfather, he found out that this was not the way they did it. So he did science on this many years after, and he found out that the prehistoric rafts were equipped with the keel system.
Oh, the keel system.
Yeah, like it's called Guara technique, and it's keels placed all over the raft. We had 10 of these keels, and it's all about to change the area of the keels. So when you lift them in the front and you twist the sail a little bit, the raft will slowly. So yeah, so we managed to. They followed the Humboldt current, and we managed to cross straight over with this steering technique. So we beat the Kon-Tiki crew with 1 month. It was an amazing journey.
In spite of the hardships, in spite of the dangers, the Vikings proved that one can remain alive long after the usual date of disintegration if one is unafraid of the unknown, insatiable in intellectual curiosity, and embracing of new cultures and ideas. And in that spirit, we head north, far north, above the Arctic Circle, to the extreme tip of Norway.
Okay, where are we, Richard?
So we were in the far northernmost reaches of Norway, almost at Land's End. We were just 19 degrees south of the North Pole. You can't get much further and still be on land. This is where the reindeer people are, now called the Sami. There are only about 60,000 left of them in the world, and they survive by herding reindeer here in the far Arctic north.
It's kind of cold.
It's a bit chilly here, but not as bad as I might have expected considering where we are. We're further north than anything in the United States, and it's somewhat temperate. So It's green and it has birch and aspen and flowers and lots of reindeer.
The Sami people were here in Norway long before the Vikings. They were nomads, moving like the mist, following the great reindeer herds, and knowing intuitively that peace was more precious than property.
Yeah.
Oh, nice to meet you. To learn more about the Sami, I visit Johan Erup and his family.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Hello.
Hello.
It's so nice and warm in here.
Yeah, please sit down. Maybe you want to have something to drink or...
So we wait with the serving when he starts to...
Yes.
Excuse me.
Do you film?
Yes, that's good.
My father built house in this village in 1970. And before that we lived in our summer and winter place in winter before I start to school. We have a cottage and some time we also live in Lavo. But also today when we are moving with the reindeer and working with the reindeer, herding the reindeer.
So it's sort of the nomadic house.
Yes, but not so big as this one. This one is for the tourists.
Yeah.
About 50% of the people living in this village are working with reindeer.
Okay.
And in summertime, after the school finish, half of the people in this village will go to the coast, where the reindeer are.
And so, do they use all of the reindeer? Do they use the
Almost
horns?
all. It's only the stuff inside the stomach.
So they can't use them.
Yes.
And what about the horns? Do they do something with the horns?
Yes, sell them to the Eastern and get much money. And do you know why they want to buy it?
I'm afraid to ask.
Okay.
Tell me, what possibly would the Easterners want to do with reindeer antler?
For the metaldalle.
Maybe you should censor him.
Okay. It's I don't know the English potence.
Potence.
Yes, maybe that's the
Potence.
yes. Okay.
Like potency.
Yeah.
But does it work?
I don't know. Ask my wife. That you have to censor it.
Doctor.
So I used to say when we have drink coffee and had some, not scotch, but some dried reindeer meat in the coffee, we can yoik.
Yoik.
Yes, yoik is the Sami way to sing. I can take some examples because when you get a yoik, I get mine when I was maybe 3-4 months old.
Okay.
And I will take an example from one of my uncle when he was about 15 to 20 years. Hello la 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 la. Hello la 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 la. He was young and strong. Now he is past 50, close up to 60. Now it goes like this. What when he is 70? What kind of yoik he will have then?
You'll be whispering.
Yes, maybe.
There you go.
You know,
Do you have a family song?
family song.
Do you have a song that the whole family sings?
No, but we have a yoik that all body have to yoik,
Okay.
even the guests.
Okay.
So you have to yoik.
Okay, let's yoik.
Hey yo la 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 la. Hey yo la 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 la. Hey yo la 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 la. Hey yo la 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 la. Okay. Nah.
The Vikings certainly knew the Sami and exploited the relationship by demanding tribute in the form of reindeer, bear, and seal skins, bird feathers, whalebone, and ship ropes made from walrus hides. The Vikings would then trade these items for gold and silver as far away as Constantinople and Egypt. Much of that gold and silver made its way back to the Sami in the form of jewelry. For a nomadic people, jewelry was a convenient way to possess and carry wealth. Modern jewelers, such as Frank and Regine Jewels, have come to northern Norway to draw inspiration from and make jewelry for the Sami.
But the most important thing?
Their shop in Kautokeino is a showcase for traditional and modern styles. Okay, so we're going to go look for king crabs, the world's largest crabs. And there's a rumor that they're even bigger here than they were, or that they are in Alaska, because we're downwind from Chernobyl.
I heard also his comments about Alaska here, and until today we it's actually a fact that the crabs here in general are bigger than in Alaska, and the reason is quite obvious because in Alaska they started commercial fisheries in the 50s, but here
so
we have only been fished 8 years, so that is why the crabs are bigger
here. Okay. Here we go on an Arctic adventure. Ain't no Caribbean cruise. Traveling here, you can almost imagine what it was like to be a Viking and the adventure they experienced. To be a traveler, to be an adventurer is to be engaged, to be alive, and to be an active player in the scroll of existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the Barents Sea, you know.
So we're in the Barents Sea, huh?
Yes, this is a spot which we have found, or where we find crabs almost the whole year.
Uh-huh.
So it's almost guaranteed. And one of the reasons is actually, if you look behind here, you can see there is a lot of nests, birds' nests. So this is a kittiwake colony.
Oh.
So the kittiwakes are nesting here in summertime.
Uh-huh.
And what they are leaving,
Their poop.
yes, it will make the mussels grow better.
Oh, okay, and the crabs like the mussels.
Yes,
So
exactly. So that is
it's
one of the reasons why we are picking out this spot.
How's that look?
Twist the boat a little bit.
Okay.
Not the way to properly clean a lens.
I don't know, that one's pretty wet.
How cold is the water?
It's approximately 8 degrees Celsius.
How far down will he go?
Actually, at this time of the year, like I told you, the bigger crabs are normally in really deep waters.
Yeah.
So if you don't find any crabs now within 0 to about 20 meters, then he would have to go very deep to find bigger crabs.
He's got at least one. Is that 2? We got crab. How many? 3 or 4?
Det var jeg som tok på storkloen over fingeren min der. Det var heldigvis ikke det største.
Just be aware of the claws, because even though they are not really big, they're very strong. Maybe these are a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Okay, that's a good catch.
That's a good catch.
Yes.
This will fill us up. Yeah. Wow.
Okay, we need to help the diver up.
Okay. So where is the crab?
We can put it in the box here.
Thinking of maybe you just holding one up, kind of like this.
Here we go.
So these are mainly male crabs, actually. And like I said, this is not really big, even though this is, of course, compared to the Dungeness crab or
it's
other
huge
crabs,
compared to a
it's
blue
huge.
crab or something, yeah.
But this is like maybe 2.5 kilo, and the biggest we have caught in this region is 16 kilo.
Oh.
So, but then they get a little bit rougher in the meat. Or,
Yeah. It looks like something out of a horror film. Wow.
You won't be able to eat all this, believe me.
Wow.
Nice to have a little bit of crab.
Okay, are you hungry?
Okay,
I promise if you eat this, I will go diving to fetch more.
Even if we don't eat it, you're going to go diving and fetch. This feast is a fitting conclusion of our time in Norway's far north, where we've encountered the Sami. In spite of centuries of exploitation, first by the Vikings, then by Norway, the Sami have clung to a culture that is connected to the rhythms of nature and dedicated to peace.
It's easy to just open it.
I don't think we have found the spirit of the Vikings, but we may have discovered a bit of Norway's soul. Tomorrow, we renew our quest when we fly south to the town of Tromsø.
So they give us the tickets, so we can get the way down. But I mean, how many people walk up to
At some point to the right, there will be a house in the woods with a grass top roof.
The turf roof.
Yeah, turf thing.
The turf house.
When you move a bit to the right, you see this one half-inch away from the shore, like a thing. Yeah, that's the scaffolding Americans used after the war to tear down the churches.
Okay, where are we, Tim?
We're in Tromsø, the Paris of the North.
What's here?
What's apparently French people are here because our guide is Pierre and he's from France. But other than Pierre is the Polaris Museum and the Polar Museum and a university. It's a very exciting place. We're glad to be here, and the sun is shining for 5-10 minutes, I think.
Children, along with their families, can get a first-hand look at what explorers such as Amundsen and Nansen were up against in Tromsø's popular Polaria Museum. Here you can find a unique Arctic experience without the inconvenience of venturing out into the cold. There is an aquarium showcasing the rich aquatic life off Norway's northern coast, as well as information about Arctic wildlife, travel, and the environment. If you are exploring the Polaria with children, don't miss the feeding of the bearded seals, an Arctic species native to the Norwegian coast.
think. Can you give yourself some applause? Clap it. Okay, bella condotta. Bella condotta. Bella strålning. Ja, vad bort det ner. Bort det ner. Can you play that? My son, Bella, play that. Bella, Bella, my son, son. Hey.
Tromsø was a launching base for polar expeditions by both Nansen and Amundsen. The Polar Museum is dedicated not so much to a place, but to those who dared a geographical expression. So Norway has a long history of breeding explorers, dating way back to the Vikings to the present day. But in the 20th century, it created or it bred perhaps the world's most famous explorer, Roald Amundsen.
Correct.
So what did he do?
Amundsen, what is...
Yeah. What is he most famous for?
Well, I would say the first thing he did, the most important, is to reach the South Pole, 1911.
The biggest geographical race of the age.
Yes. That was the race with the Scots, 1911. But a few years before, 1903 to 1906, he was the first one to sail north of Canada from Greenland all the way to the Bering Sea. And that trip took 3 years to be accomplished because, of course, the Northwest Passage, this passage north of Canada, is frozen during winter, so they have only a few months to sail through it. So every time they would get stuck in the beginning of the winter, they would spend the whole winter stuck in the ice and live with the Inuits, with the Eskimos. And that's where Amundsen learned a lot of technique, survival technique, and that how we learned how to sledge with the dogs during that trip on the Northwest Passage. And he would use all this learning, all these techniques for his trip, is the race to the South Pole in 1911.
And Scott, Robert Falcon Scott didn't know any of those things.
Did not know, or they had other theories and they had other plans, and those plans appear to be less effective to reach the South Pole. Yeah.
And there are also theories that he may have been the first person to reach the North Pole.
Amundsen?
Yes.
Yeah, and that brings to the story of Peary. The American Peary would have been the first one on the North Pole, but he failed to make the proper measurements of his position. So his claim cannot be proven for sure. Cannot be proven for sure.
So why do you think that Norway has bred so many great explorers? Is it something in the blood, or?
I don't know. It's probably because of their geographical location. They're so close to the open ice, to the Arctic Ocean. They have to deal with it. Maybe it's related to the Vikings, like exploration. The area of Tromsø was the Wild West, but they were exploring Iceland, Greenland. They traveled all the way to the U.S., like Nova Scotia, etc. And they went to Russia. They went to the north, the Black Sea. They went everywhere, the Vikings. So they have this exploration thing in their blood, I guess, and that's how and they used that sparkle to go towards the North Pole.
Und deshalb wird es ein ganz spezieller Ort. Es handelt sich hier um die älteste geologische Region der Welt. Das Gestein, das Sie hier sehen, ist bis zu 3,5 Milliarden Jahre alt. Der eigentliche Meter des Erdmaßes ist nur 80 Meter breit. Das wird ca. 2,5 Kilometer lang bei einer Wassertiefe zwischen 30 und
passa faktiskt här. Ja, det är mycket, mycket bra på det här. Det är mycket båtar.
There you go. Get it? Yep.
respekterer det da?
Ja, vi har hatt så mye spioner på den gjør det. De ødelegger for seg selv. Hvis ikke så...
You can see on the end the two hydroelectric stations from the Trollfjord.
Jeg skal ta det med i morgen.
Hurtigruten, a shipping company that ferries passengers and freight up and down the Norwegian coast, was established in 1893 and became an important part of Norway's long maritime tradition. A museum in Stokmarknes offers a look at their rich history. Near the fishing villages of the Lofoten Islands, I get a glimpse back at the more domestic side of this brutal age. In 1981, archaeologists unearthed the remains of the largest Viking dwelling ever found. So back in the early 80s, you were a farmer.
Yes.
And you farmed the land around here.
Yes, I was, yeah.
And you found something?
Not exactly. I just plow over to graves, whose I don't. Now I was wrong to do it.
Oh, okay.
But that started it.
And
a local archaeologist, yes, from here, from Vestvågøy, who's come to talk to me. And told me something, and later, this spring, I was plowing more.
Yes.
And then I find some things I don't see before. So I was calling him and asked him to come to see. So he come and that started.
And it turned out that you discovered the remains of the largest Viking home ever found.
Yeah, it was a funny thing.
Yeah.
And then this do they know unzipped all the way for me.
Do they actually have the dragon heads on either side of the house?
Yes, we know that they had. I mean, it's a complicated story. We don't know.
All right, and you can zip your jacket back up.
We don't know how this house looked like in this particular excavation.
Right.
100%. But from the knowledge we have, we know that several of these, both the chieftains' houses and later the some part.
Can we take your sunglasses off?
Yeah.
Okay.
You leave some part of the site for future, for if there are other questions addressed, if they have better methods, better technology. So we don't have a specific date for when they will.
What are we walking in?
We're walking in the actual site. It's a fairly new site discovered in 1981.
That recently? Wow.
Yeah, which is the chieftain's house from the Lofoten Islands, and it's the largest Viking house ever found.
And how long is it?
It is 83 meters in length and about 10 meters wide. And we discovered quite a lot of details. You have the byre area over here where he kept his animals. We are now standing in the chieftain's hall. And further down here we have the living quarters of the house.
And how many people would live in the chieftain's house?
It was the extended family, plus handcrafters, plus specialized people. It was also people to keep him protected. There were the trells, the slaves of the society. It's hard to estimate in numbers, but I would say at least 50 to 70 people on a place like this.
Okay, action.
This is huge. So where are we?
So this is the living quarters, and everybody stayed in this one room because the next room, the banquet hall, was a sacred place and it was used only for very special occasions. So everybody lived in this one room. There might have been from 40 to 70 persons.
70 people? But there are no private quarters?
Well, yes, indeed.
And what else do they do besides sleep in this room? Do they also cook?
Oh, they did lots of crafts. There were many craftspeople working for the chieftain, because we're not so certain about his identity, but we know for sure that he was quite wealthy and powerful, since it's the largest Viking longhouse ever found in the world.
Okay, so this area looks like it's a weaving area.
It is, it is. Women would spend most of the day here weaving and so spinning the wool. And they started to spin the yarn from the age of 4. So I started a bit too late, unfortunately. But basically this is how it works. You have to add the wool here at the end, and you spin the spindle always in the same direction. And you let the spindle fall down progressively. And some women could spin a yarn as thin as silk.
And would this be sheep wool that they would use?
It was, yes. But they also spin some flax, linen thread, but that was only for very wealthy people.
So this is what you think a Viking woman would have worn in this era, in this house?
The dress attached with some brooches is very traditional for the Viking age. And I'm wearing one of the most expensive colors, because red was the only color which was imported. It was imported from Central Europe. It's made with madder, so only the ladies of high rank could wear red.
So you're of high rank.
Yes, I am indeed. I have lots of power and I'm very wealthy.
Now, is this gold, this brooch here?
No, this is bronze.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what do you carry in this pouch?
Well, I could carry the keys from the house because the housewife had access to all the doors and chests of the house.
And so the woman had the power of the house as well.
She did. And when the chieftain was away, it was she who ruled the house.
So when I think of the Vikings, I think of a very macho society, male-dominated. What was the role of women?
Women had as many rights as men. They had almost the same rights. I said almost because actually a man could have one wife and several concubines, while the woman had only one husband and no male concubines.
Good.
No official ones whatsoever.
And what about divorce? Did they have that?
They could divorce, yes. To divorce was very easy. So marriage was arranged between the two families. That was something which was kind of diplomatic. But women still didn't resent marrying because they knew that they could divorce. To divorce was fairly easy.
And did women have a voice in policy or government?
They did. You know, the Vikings had the Ting, which is the parliament, and everybody could go to the parliament, all the free men at least, and women as well.
That's very enlightened.
They had a very strong temperament, and they encouraged men to defend their honor, the family's honor. And if men, in some cases, didn't take the weapons, she, the woman, would take the weapon and avenge the family's honor.
Oh boy.
They could defend themselves and they were not afraid to shed blood. Well, you know, this is very much like in Norse mythology with the Valkyries, Odin's daughter.
And who were the female goddesses?
The most important one was probably Freya. She's the goddess of love and shamanism. But only women in Viking society practiced shamanism.
Oh, so no wonder they had so much respect.
Indeed, they could cast spells.
They controlled all the magic.
Yes. That's a lathe, pole lathe. It's used to make bowls and plates. So basically this is what you do. You carve out the inside of the bowl, and then the final stage is this one with this wooden bit in the middle, which is very easy to remove. So I'm going to press on the pedal, which is right under, and it goes back and forth like this. like this. But of course you have to use much more energy and strength.
Sure.
Yes. So a few years ago we had a specialist who could make a bowl like this in 20 minutes.
Wow.
On these slaves. Hey, it was quite strong, a real Viking.
Yeah, you can try. It shows the color.
Ah, you know this Okay. I'm putting you on the defense.
Yeah, I'm just... I can't attack. I think you know better than me this game.
I think whoever goes first has the advantage, just like chess. So I get 3.
No, it's because I'm letting you win.
Okay. You got 3.
3.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Good game. Oh, so it's game over.
No, you have to move. You can move.
So I can go like here.
So, meal another time.
Oh, you got another one.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Wow. Now the Vikings weren't a particular race of people or a tribe. It was actually just an era.
Yeah, Viking. We call it Viking period. And the funny thing, the Vikings themselves never called themselves Vikings. Actually, the term they used was a verb. It was not something they were. It was something they did. They could go Viking. But they didn't refer to themselves as Vikings.
So to go Viking is to go plunder.
It's a little bit more complicated than just plundering. It is to go Viking is that you take your ship, you get your crew, and you fill your ship with the things that you can trade and purchase. Sometimes it was pure trading. Sometimes it was a kind of combination. So you did trading, and when you had the possibility, you stopped and you plundered, you took the things. So it was more like a complex story. They were explorers, and they were also how do you say, entrepreneurs, perhaps.
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, entrepreneurs. And something maybe not thought about so much. They were very democratic. In a way, in their way of living, their way of thinking, very democratic. One example, the Norwegian chieftain, he sacked Paris at some point. And the king in Paris, he was really in a bad situation. He was on his knees, and he knew that he could not get out of this by force. So he bought himself out with lots of silver and lots of gold. But the peculiar aspect of it was that when he offered this to the chieftain didn't answer straight away and say, I accept. He said, I will take this offer and go back to my people and we'll discuss it. And I'll give you my answer tomorrow. So, and
And the French king thought this was very strange because he was talking to the leader. So why didn't the leader just make the decision? No, he had to take it back and discuss it with his people. So that was the first sign of the Viking democracy in a way. That you had to.
So there was an example of democracy here before many places in Europe then.
Yeah.
Du på til å ro også.
Hva er dette? Du, tror jeg kan legge jakka mi her. Kan jeg legge jakka mi her?
Ja, det er litt stor. Kille.
Fin du var. Janne, det var fin. Jeg kjente sånn.
Hi.
Yes.
Okay. Anytime. I'm rolling.
So you are always ready?
No. What's the
Almost
name of
always ready.
Name of the school?
Yeah, it's the name of school. Are you now the film is going? Yes. The name of the school is Borg Viking Leirskole. My name is Inge Elvebakk and I am the headmaster of that school. Yes.
I'm wondering if when you're getting on the ship, we can maybe get a quick line that says something like that. You know,
Okay.
it says, the Viking spirit is so important that the school children today are learning, learning about
The
that
Viking spirit, and not in books.
and not in books. Yeah, but just in a something quick because we're not going to. If we're getting on the boat with all the kids, then we're not going to get a lot of chances to do it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I like it.
Jeg trenger 2 personer her. Kisten er sett for at vi skal stå sånn. Det er praktiske årsaker. Legg den på siden.
Blir den båt?
Nei, det blir det ikke. Og så, det her blir deres årer når vi går ut fra kai. Den åra der tilhører jo dere.
Det er jo brikker der.
Det er ikke akkurat. Det er jo dokumentar. Ok. Velkommen ombord i Lofoter. Vikingeskip. Dette er et ro- og et seilingsskip. Du kan ro 32 mann. Og båten er 23,5 meter lang og 5,5 meter brei. Så det er et ganske stort skip. For å seile denne båten her, så trenger du minimum 10 personer. Og båten setter fart opp på bølgene og kommer opp i luften, sånn her at ballasten begynner å slå ned i botten på båten. Og det slåres ei sprekke på 10 meter. Og båten begynner å ta inn vann. Det tar ca. et kvarter, det er båten full av vann. Vi sa vi skulle vente på årene på den siden, og da mener vi at vi skal vente. For hvis ikke så knekkes årene på den siden. Den tar det til slutt. Vi så, nei, det var ikke den. Vi så. Den skulle jeg ha.
Vi har ikke lov til å ta det ut.
Vi sa vi skulle vente på årene på den siden, og da mener vi at vi skal vente. Hvis ikke så knekkes årene. Normal vei det var å dra til dem. Vi må bare hjelpe til. Vi skal gå instruere.
Så tenker noen Terje sagt at se på den foran.
Gå i takten de kan.
Se på den foran, og så følg samme takta.
Gamle steige tak. På babord side også.
Der kommer prosjektet også.
Ja, da
rolig! Kom igjen! Og hi! Og oi!
Don't try both ways. So.
Okay.
Say when.
When?
So whatever the Viking spirit, it's still alive and taught in schools in Norway experientially.
Let's do it one more time. That was great.
Okay. So whatever the Viking spirit, it's still alive and being taught in schools in Norway experientially.
Take a look at it first. Can you get to the third one more time?
The day we went. Oh, there's the zoo before you died. Yes, before. Nice. Oh, okay. I wonder how far down the list we got. Yeah. We must have noise or wrote about it.
Are you able to turn? How far are you?
Yeah, okay. So there's a manhood.
Ready.
Okay, so this is a port. Let's start again. Okay. So there's a manhood ritual here, when sailors take their young boys, 15, 16 years old, out for the first time to sea. They pass this mountain called the Old Man, and one of the rituals, one of the rites of passage, is that you have to tip your hat to the Old Man of the mountain.
Here we go. One more time.
What's that?
One more time, but a little tighter.
A little tighter? Okay. Okay. One of the rituals in this area is when sailors take their sons, 15, 16 years old, for the first time out past this mountain called the Old Man. The boys have to tip their hat to the Old Man of the mountain. A rite of passage.
Awesome.
Okay. All right.
Let's give you a push,
okay,
so it's a little more dramatic.
Okay.
But okay.
You should take the waterproof housing, put the camera in it, and tape it to the end of the paddle and do the paddle cam.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Not too bad. It's like we were, reading about the Vikings here, because the show we're doing is sort of, it's called The Spirit of the Vikings. Mm-hmm. And trying to present that There are aspects of the Viking spirit that still exist today. One of the phrases the Vikings used that I didn't know, was to go berserking.
Yeah. Berserk?
Yeah, that's where the term berserk comes from.
Yeah. It means to carry the hide of a bear.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. But they said they would work themselves up to a trance.
Yeah. And eating mushrooms.
Do they eat mushrooms?
Yeah.
No.
Sure.
They have hallucinogenic mushrooms too? Huh.
Yeah.
Looks like
we'll just wait for them.
Are those part of the Lofoten Islands too?
No, that's the mainland Norway.
That's the mainland, huh? Wow. That's 40K, wow.
Okay, let's make a turn and go back into the bay again.
Okay. But have you ever done any long distance kayaking? Like that?
I've done 3 weeks.
3 weeks? You ever crossed open water?
Across here.
To 40Ks out there? Wow.
How was it?
It's nice. It's very pleasant. You don't want it to end. You want to do the week trip.
Okay.
So, there were Vikings on Lofoten?
Yeah. This part you get to do. It comes up underneath your sweater and pops out your collar. We even got one that matched your sweater for us.
Good, that was well planned. I was thinking of wearing red today.
We'll get a red one in the car.
Oh, sure. You've got a black one.
Well, it has to be color coordinated.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to you back.
Oh, yeah. We're not walking now. We're standing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm rolling.
So what is the Kiss of the North?
The Kiss of the North, that was something I received in the middle of the summer. I was going down to the water, looking at the waves in a gale, full gale. Waves were really high and were breaking on the rocks. I went closer and closer, just lured to these huge waves. And suddenly, a wave came much higher than all the others. I couldn't escape, and I was almost crushed by it. Held on to the rocks, it was trying to pull me out, and I was battered and bleeding afterwards. That was the North's first kiss. I fell in love with the place. I said, this is where I want to live.
That's good. Anything more?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Can we go see his gallery?
Tomorrow?
We're going back tomorrow, yes.
Yes. 180.
180
180.
for two?
Yes, yes, two.
To come back tomorrow?
Back tomorrow.
Non. Vous l'avez pas vu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bonjour.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Good luck for your...
Yep. Fuzzy and
Thank you.
have a nice cruise.
I hope you survive the night.
Oh, il faut que... C'est là, là.
Bye.
Bye bye. Au revoir.
Our next destination is Norway's second largest city, Bergen. In the 1850s, the playwright Henrik Ibsen was employed by the Norwegian theater here in Bergen. One of Ibsen's most famous plays is Peer Gynt, the tale of a Norwegian folk hero, with incidental music composed by the equally famous Edvard Grieg. We're at Grieg's home outside of Bergen for a special piano recital. Back in Oslo, a unique example of the celebration of Norwegian identity is the Hotel Bondenheimen. Here, designer Cecile Eskild's workshop makes the traditional regional costumes called the bunad.
About that, that's something that's distinctively Norwegian, of course.
So what do you like?
Well, there's a lot here I like. It's just hard. This one makes me look like a hotel greeter or something. So I don't know about that. And the vest, this could be a waiter at a very nice restaurant, a Norwegian restaurant. Or, oh, I like this one.
The different designs and colors represent different areas of Norway.
This is me, I think, huh?
But
what do you think?
This goes inside this one.
The bunad is worn by most Norwegians for national holidays and special occasions.
Well, it's custom made.
Yes.
Okay. Norwegian eye for the Yankee guy. Okay. What do you think?
Looks good.
Will I fit in? Nobody will notice? Will I blend?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. Hotel Bondenheimen is also a center for traditional foods. Today, sheep farmer Ivar Lone is treating us to a feast of smoked sheep's head and Norway's traditional drink, aquavit.
You can see it's going off on the bone now, so that means it's finished. And the meat would be quite tender at this point.
Now, does that look appetizing or what? Oh my God. They say, come to Norway for the scenery, but stay for the food.
Skål.
Skål.
Vetlaglaset.
Yep. Aquavit, the traditional drink of Norway. We finally found the Viking spirit.
Så här klart. Klart, fint här.
Ja, verkligen. Ja, väldigt.
Här är alltså broskan. Hvis du liker brosk, så kan du äta den.
If you like this, you can eat it. You don't have to.
I'll take a bite. Bite ears. So this is the sheep's ear.
There's also been good I've seen before I met him. I saw it.
Ska du få ett smalahove i sill?
Oh, it's a sheep's head.
Yeah, silver.
So this is a culinary achievement on my part, or wow! I'm part of the brotherhood now. Part of the sheephood. Part of the sheephead.
Varsågod.
Thank you very much. I'm proud to be part of this club. Yeah. get a better idea of the connection between Norwegian patriotism and the Viking spirit, we visit historian Charlotte Saversen at the Fram Museum.
And suddenly this very handsome cross-country skier and scientist came out from the ice with skis on his feet, like this reborn Viking king. So the Norwegian could find something good inside themselves and be proud again.
In spite of their newfound identity, Norway soon discovered that independence and freedom have their price. On April 9th, 1940, in spite of its declared neutrality, Norway was invaded by Nazi Germany. Behind me is the home of Nazi collaborator and head of its puppet government, Vidkun Quisling, now a name synonymous with treason. Today, it houses the Holocaust Center.
I managed to
Would you say that Norway is an apostle of peaceful coexistence with the rest of the world? And is there a heritage there?
Well, there are some very interesting similarities and differences between the United States and Norway. We both have a very strong isolationist heritage, that we should remain out of war and combinations and alliances. And this is what you believed in basically until Pearl Harbor killed this off. And Norway believed in isolationism to some extent, I mean politically, until we were attacked by Germany on April 9, 1940. That ended isolationism in Norway.
You must remember that Norway, in a way, is a young state, old nation. We gained independence in 1905, and you have a long tradition of being poor and being a victim to conflict. So I think there's a strong kind of undercurrent here that dealing with humanitarian disasters that hit others, assisting in processes which can lead to peace for others, is something which is widely shared among the Norwegians. So as a government, you have broad support for it.
Now, what about the fact that Norway is a long coastal country and it's always been seafaring and outward looking? Do you think that contributed to this outlook that saw other countries as dependent upon each other?
Well, I think clearly that we have always been, seafarers, which has brought culture back to us, and Norwegian goods and Norwegians out to others.
I think what's left of the Viking heritage is that we like to travel. We like to get out there. I mean, the Vikings traveled the world, many different parts of the world. And in that sense, although politically we have been somewhat isolationist, I mean, economically and scientifically, we have been very interested in the world. We have had a very strong merchant marine traditionally. We have a very strong missionary spirit. And many Norwegians have taken a strong interest in the outside world.
If you're stuck on a small boat or raft,
and you're sailing towards a common goal, I mean, you have to cooperate.
Right.
And then you do. And all of his expeditions with international crews were extremely successful. They became friends for life.
So that's extraordinary. So he proved that people, no matter their backgrounds, no matter the diversity of the makeup, that they can get along together and work together.
They didn't even have a common language.
Amazing, amazing.
And still, they cooperated. They had no serious frictions at all. It was just as easy, my father said, to command an international crew as purely a Scandinavian crew.
Well, some people would say that the Earth itself is a raft.
Yes, it is.
But we're not quite getting along the way your father was able to manage his crew.
Yes, I agree. There will be setbacks, of course, disappointments, of course, but I think that we are slowly moving in the right direction. I am an optimist.
Good, good.
Da 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 da